I'm Hayden. What's your name?
Aiden.
Good to meet you.
You too.
Have we talked before?
We have.
Okay. I didn't recognize you at first, but I recognize you now.
Yeah.
So student loan debt forgiveness, yeah, I don't think it should be forgiven.
Why not?
I think that individuals who take on debt or make an investment should be the one who is responsible for paying that debt back.
Do you think that college should be cheaper? Or free?
Definitely not free, because that would basically just mean it's paid for by taxpayers. I also think
Yeah.
we should get rid of the federal student loan system entirely.
Okay. So then you would be of the position that everybody that goes to college should pay for it privately or
Yes,
out of their own pocket?
So I thought you were going to say out of your own pocket. Not necessarily out of your own pocket, because some individuals might not have enough money to pay for it in cash. So I don't mean in cash, but I do mean like they should have to get a private loan from a bank.
Okay. Could you recognize how this could like benefit wealthier people a lot more than poor people?
Yeah, so you could have wealthier people whose parents pay for them to go to university, whereas individuals who are poor, their parents don't pay and they're not able to get a loan. But the important thing to recognize is the reason that they wouldn't be able to get the loan is because their future productivity wouldn't justify the costs. And so we're actually, by having the loans be privatized, we would be preventing people from taking on loans that they are highly unlikely to be able to pay back, which is what the federal student loan system does, because it gives people loans without evaluating whether they're going to be able to repay.
Well, I mean, yes, but you could also have like I think they're called guarantors, instead of like going based off of your own credit history, which is pretty much what it is, right? I know lots of people that have done that, and lots of people can't do that because,
Their parents don't have the income, or their parents don't have the credit.
Exactly. So you can kind of see here, right? This would be a big issue, right? How poor people whose families don't have good credit generally are not going to be able to go to college at all.
Yeah, but I think it would be better for an individual who comes from a poor family with parents who don't have money, bad credit, to not go to college and be saved from having student loans they can't pay back than to go to college and be stuck with student loans that they can't pay back. Like, ultimately, they're either going to get it from federally, in which case they're not going to evaluate whether they'll be able to repay back the loan, in which case they might be stuck with a massive amount of student loan debt, or it can be done privately and the bank will evaluate whether they're likely to repay or not. And if they are likely to repay, they'll get the loan. But if they're not, then the benefits probably didn't justify the cost in the first place.
Okay. You do know that people that go to college make more money over their lifetime
On average,
than people that don't.
But
right?
I don't think so.
So I mean,
Go ahead.
because one of your claims was that essentially that it's just not worth it. It wouldn't be worth it for these poor people to go to college, right?
As evident by the student loan crisis. If it was worth it, then we wouldn't have a student loan crisis, because the future productivity would be able to pay back the loans.
Isn't the crisis, right, evident that the demand for college is high?
That the demand is high, yeah.
Yeah. So why would the demand for college be high?
For the same reason that the demand for beanie babies was high in, I think it was the 90s or the 2000s. Same reason the demand was high for .com stocks in the late 90s or late 2000s. It's a bubble.
So essentially, it's
a bubble.
It's a trend, is kind of what you're saying.
It's a bubble. So
What do you mean by a bubble?
The costs don't justify the benefits, or the benefits don't justify the costs, rather, right? So people are ultimately going to college. They're paying the money, but the payment, the costs, aren't justified by the future productivity, which would be the benefits. Because if it was, they'd pay back the loan.
I guess I'm asking why is the demand so high then?
Why is the demand so high?
Why are people whining to go to college knowing
I think people aren't properly evaluating the investment.
What might be going through I disagree with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, going to college, you will make more money going to college.
Not necessarily.
On average, you will make more money going to college than just not going to college, right?
But just real quick, I tried to mention this earlier, and then I'll let you continue. But
Sure.
where I think I disagree with you is I don't think that the college is necessarily what's making the individual more productive. Rather, what I'm viewing is individuals who are going to college, that's acting as a signaling and sorting mechanism for employers. So I don't think that the classes you take are what actually earns you the higher wage that you benefit from having graduated college.
Sure.
I think it's rather the signal that you're somewhat competent, somewhat conformist, and employers are looking for that and selecting for that. And so individuals who are going to college on average are also going to have higher IQs. And you'd be comparing apples to oranges a little bit if you're just comparing people who go to college with those who don't, because on average those who go to college already have higher IQs and are likely to be more productive.
I think it'd be more accurate to say people that graduate from college would have higher IQs, not necessarily people that go to college. But I take your point, right?
Probably both, to be honest, but in different degrees.
word salad in my brain.
You're good.
One second. Yeah. I'm not gonna be able to sort through this one. Everything's going too fast.
Do you want to
but-
return to the loan forgiveness part, or do you want to
Yeah.
stay on the
Well-
student loans and whether federal government should provide those?
Yeah, so I think college should be kind of getting to the broader topic, right? I think college should be significantly cheaper or free. I don't think the main purpose of college should be just to get a job. I think that's simplifying it way too much. In the same way that I don't think that high school should be solely to prepare a person for the workplace, right? There's a degree of like, well, one thing you mentioned was like discipline, right? But you learn about, as cliche as it is, you learn about yourself, who you are, what your interests are. You grow as a person when you go to college. You experience new people, new cultures, new faces. You have way more opportunities. Most people have way more opportunities than they do in high school. And I think that other countries have had like a free or very cheap college compared to us that still have very like highly regarded colleges and institutions, and they do very well.
So a lot
Yeah.
of the things you just mentioned, though, you can get from your first job. So like if you go into the workplace straight out of high school, you're going to gain new experiences, you're going to gain skills, references, you're going to meet new people. Sure, maybe not as quite a diverse group in terms of people and classes
Sure.
than at college, but in a workplace, you're still going to gain skills, references, and experiences.
I think the important part is the degree here, right? Most people's first job is going to be like in their hometown where they grew up or where they're currently living. A nice thing about college is that you get to expand your horizons, essentially, right?
At the expense of tens of thousands of debt, though.
If you're not smart about it, I guess.
Well, I mean, for most people, it would probably be the case that either their parents are paying for it. So the cost is still going to be tens of thousands of dollars. You might have some rare cases where an individual has a scholarship, but those would be the exceptions rather than the rule. I'm going to move by you because that camera just died,
Yeah, okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. You need me to move?
No, you're good. I think you can stay. You should be good.
Okay. Sweet. Could you just rephrase what you're saying again?
Yeah, I was essentially saying that individuals who go straight into the workplace rather than to college are going to gain skills, experiences, and references, and also that the idea of most of them going to an employer in their hometown rather than going to another state or a different city comes at the cost of the tens of thousands of going to the new city. So if they do go to the new city, there's a cost associated with that.
I mean, I feel like you're kind of looking at this only monetarily,
Okay.
right? It sounds like it's not as important to you whether somebody lives a happy and fulfilling life as it is that they are, whether or not they are in debt. Could you understand why I would say that you think that?
Yeah. But I wholeheartedly disagree that college would generally make people better people or better citizens, especially as it exists right now. I mean, you probably haven't seen this, but I'll tell you, I go to universities.
Sure.
You might not be surprised, but you should see some of the people I have to deal with. Like,
Okay.
I'll try to have peaceful conversations like this, and they'll just come over and start blaring music right next to me,
Yeah.
intentionally just to disrupt. And you'll have men in dresses, you'll have women dressing as men. I fail to see how that is beneficial for society. Now, granted, you
Which
could argue
part?
that that's the exception.
Which part of that?
People intentionally blaring music and
Okay.
men dressing as women, women dressing as men. Both of those are bad for society.
Okay. One of those I agree with. I think
Blaring music one you agree with,
yeah,
that's bad?
I feel like obviously being disruptive to like conversations like this is
Yeah.
bad, right? Because then nobody gets to hear what the other side thinks, and then we just isolate further, right?
Yeah.
That's bad, obviously. We don't want polarization. That's kind of hopefully what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, I disagree with you. Yeah. I think trans people are real.
Let's just
Yeah.
table that though, so we can stay on the student loan thing.
Okay.
I probably maybe shouldn't have brought that up. That may be my fault. But
Yeah.
what do you think would be like the non-economic benefits of going to college? You mentioned like the diversity of the student population, possibly diversity of classes that you have to take from gen eds. Is there anything else? And correct me if I'm wrong on what I summarized there.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's part of it, right? Going to college will also get you more like physical opportunities for things that you can do. Volunteer opportunities is huge. More different kinds of research projects. More opportunities for jobs that you can get. That is part of it, right? I know this isn't important for a lot of people, but to me, right, being able to critically think about how you view the world is very important, and most people do not learn that in high school.
The critical thinking I tremendously disagree with that, dude. I mean,
Why do you say that? Yeah.
Because I will talk to some of the kids here and present logical reasoning, and I can literally see their mind change in their head, and they'll refuse to vocalize it because they know that if they do, they will be socially penalized. I will see, because I've done this long enough, I can tell when people change their mind and when they don't. Right?
Sure.
And so I will see them literally change their mind in their head or realize all that their reasoning is terrible, and then instead of actually vocalizing, okay, yeah, I changed my mind, they will refuse to do it because they are scared of the social consequences.
But that's a different matter, right?
But I think that that's enforced by the college. I think that idea of not being able to change your mind or believe ideas that probably aren't widely held on college campuses is reinforced by going to university. Because I don't find that in individuals who didn't go to university who I talk to.
I disagree that when you say enforced by the college, do you mean like literally by the rules?
Not legally. No, not by the rules.
Okay.
I mean like social
like
consequences.
Socially?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. Have you gone to college? You don't have to talk
I spent
about
a year.
Okay. I don't know what your experience has been, but for me, this is only my second year, and I have had radically different. I've been in classrooms with radically different consensus opinions, essentially, where I'm left leaning. There have been situations where I don't want to talk about anything pertaining to my politics because of everybody else in the room. So if you're talking about like just a general culture like that, maybe I can agree with that.
Yeah.
But it sounded like kind of what you were suggesting was that the social pressure was coming more from one side than the other.
Yeah, I think that's generally accurate. I think it can come from both sides, but I think on average it's probably more discriminatory towards conservative views.
Yeah,
and I think
that could be fine, but again, that's a separate issue to whether or not critical thinking is taught and or practiced, right?
Okay.
Because you can change your mind, and you can hold beliefs, and eventually, right? Because this is how I became left leaning. Over time, right? A bunch of experiences like the ones you described, where a student will come up and then just have an experience where their logic is completely shattered, right? And then not say anything and walk away. But then you accumulate those experiences, and eventually you start to change your mind, right? And that's the critical thing.
One thing though is I don't think critical thinking should only happen between your ears, right? Not out your mouth. And so even if someone's exposed to the experiences by a few brave individuals or a few individuals who are presenting ideas that are not mainstream, if most students get the sense that they can't vocalize or have conversations without there being social consequences, then I think that's still a problematic.
Should there be social consequences for expressing?
For some beliefs, but certainly not the ones that receive social consequences by probably most people on a campus. Like
what?
Like for example,
what's an example of each? I guess.
I think the pronoun thing matters, right? So I think that there's maybe not a majority, but I think there is a significant amount of people who, if someone in class said that they're a male, they identify as a woman, want she/her pronouns to be used, and the individual refused to do that, I think there is a significant amount of people probably in every class who would view that individual as a bigot.
Okay.
And I don't think that individual should be viewed as a bigot.
Yeah. If somebody came up to you for one of these conversations and they asked you to use different pronouns than what they appeared as, would you do it?
Than what they appeared as? I'd want to use biologically accurate pronouns. So like if I was deceived,
because you don't know, right? Unless you didn't ask me if I was a dude, right? Yeah. When I came up here, you don't know. You go based off of what they look like, right?
Yes.
Like so you're not going to.
Good question. Yeah. So like you come up right, you appear as a dude. I address you as he/him. I use masculine pronouns, right?
Sure.
Say that you told me, actually, I'm biologically a female. Then I would change and I would use biologically female pronouns. Or I'm sorry, wait, what did I just say?
Yeah, no,
I would use biologically female pronouns, so the biologically accurate ones. But me mistaking you as a man, if you were a woman, would only show that I've been deceived. It wouldn't show that you're actually a woman, right?
Isn't there more utility to addressing a person
Based on how they appear? Definitely not.
Based on how they present themselves?
Definitely not. 'Cause imagine there was like an apple on this table, right? And it was actually a fake apple, but everyone just addressed it as if it was real. And someone picks it up, goes, and all their teeth break. There wouldn't be utility in addressing it as an apple when it's a fake apple.
But if it looks real, then until you like go up to investigate it further, right? The apple's not going to tell you that it's fake.
Okay, imagine like another scenario, right? You've got 1,000 apples in your house, and you're prepping for like doomsday. And then suddenly, doomsday comes, and you think you got all this food, and you bite into it, you break all your teeth, and you're like, oh no, I was deceived, and now I've been harmed, and all my family who was relying on me to provide food has been harmed. There's way more utility in addressing things as they are in reality than based upon how they appear to be.
Okay. So in the analogy, right, how would you determine whether or not they're real apples?
Whether or not they're real apples?
Yeah. Because I would presume you would want to do that before you try to bite into it and realize that it's
But
fake and you break all your
don't
teeth out.
you see how it's harmful though that I can't just assume? If I have to check every apple before I eat it, because there's abundance of people who are trying to deceive, it's better if you can just assume that what looks to be real is real.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But someone who dresses as a woman isn't a real woman, and so it's harmful. There's less utility.
You just contradicted yourself.
I don't think I did, but feel free to explain.
Because you literally just said, it sounded like you said, I'll put it that way, because I'm open to being corrected, right? It sounded like you said, it would be stupid to have to check every single apple before you eat it, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way, you can't, you should try to, or ideally you would be able to just tell if someone is a man or a woman by looking at them, right?
Yes, it would be ideal if people didn't try to deceive you. But if I knew that there was an abundance of people trying to deceive me about apples by throwing in fake apples,
then what would you do?
then I'd probably have to start checking. But that wouldn't be a good
Okay.
outcome. The best thing would be if no one threw fake apples in the apple bushel. That one just died, by the way. So I have batteries. I will swap it and we can continue unless you want to go. Your call.
Okay. Are you going to be here in an hour?
Honestly, probably not, because my batteries are probably only going to last another hour and a half. So maybe